So RFK is saying that we should be eating more saturated fat. Now, you could Google this, you could go on AI, ask if saturated fat is bad for you. You will get a very clear answer. Obviously, our number one concern with saturated fat is heart disease, our number one killer by far. How could he possibly say that saturated fat could be good for you? There were a couple studies, and guess what? They were funded by industries interested in you eating saturated fat. And what they did was a nice little trick so they could publish a study and say that saturated fat is not associated with heart disease. So what did they do? They took a group of people and they saw how much saturated fat they ate and they saw whether or not they developed heart disease. But they did a little trick. They controlled for anybody that had high cholesterol. In other words, if you had high cholesterol, you weren't in the study. But saturated fat causes heart disease in part by raising high cholesterol. So by taking those people out of the study, calling it a control, it made it look like saturated fat did not cause heart disease. That is completely false. This has been proven over and over again. We've got Ward studies showing a linear association between saturated fat and LDL, and a linear association between LDL and cardiovascular disease. This is common sense. This is science. The industry doesn't want you to know this because they make a lot of money out of saturated fat. RFK is a real threat to our health.